The Gemara had said that if a person makes a netter, somebody can benefit from him, and he owns a bathhouse, or he owns, or a mill, a millery. So we say, and he rented it out to a third party. This is very important. This is a very important right here. So the halacha is that if he receives a certain percentage of the proceeds of the profits, then the person cannot use it. So there was a discussion how much of the profits is. It says if he has tfisas yad, if he has a hold on the bathhouse or on the millery, then the one who made the person who was not permitted benefits is not permitted to use the bathhouse. Then, so Mara said over here. So there was a machlokus. So the Gemara says, "Kamat tfisas yad." Rav Nachman says 50%, a third, or a quarter. But if it's less than a quarter, you don't have to be concerned. Abaye says no, even less than that. So what is the case where you're allowed to? I mean, he receives a yearly fee. He doesn't get a percentage of the profits. He gets a fee. The bathhouse keeper who rents it, he pays the yearly fee. That's it. So because he has no control over the actual bathhouse, therefore, even though he made a netter, he's not permitted. He's permitted to use it. Okay. So the Ran over here, which we didn't do yesterday, it brings a Tosfos as a phenomenal question. Phenomenal question. What's the question? Remember, we ended off yesterday with the bathhouse. So it says that if a person owns a bathhouse and the bathhouse owner says Reuven cannot benefit from it, and he rented out the bathhouse already to a third party. So because the bathhouse, the rights of the bathhouse is by the one who leased it, so the person is permitted to use the bathhouse. Well, what about if the bathhouse keeper gets a percentage of the profits, and it's, let's say, a quarter or more? You can't use it. But if it's less, he could. Tosfos asks a phenomenal question, which we'll see inside. Gemara says in Erchin that if you have a landlord owns a property and somebody leases it, and the landlord goes and makes a netter, he goes and consecrates the property. Consecrates the property. Halacha is the tenant's right only has a shibud. Who owns the property? The landlord. Even though I leased it out, the one who owns it is the landlord. Right. So the landlord's consecration doesn't allow the tenant to remain there. So the Tosfos says, we say konam, yesh mila b'konam. When you say something is osur and net, it's like hegdish. It's like consecrating it. It's like consecrating it. So even though the bathhouse keeper, he has leasing rights, but it's no different, better than the tenant. So just as the tenant has to move out, and if it doesn't move out, so here, how does it say in the Mishnah that if the landlord has no percentage of the profits, he can remain there? It should be no different than the consecrating. So we'll see it inside. I'll tell you what he says outside. See, he brings Tosfos. He says a phenomenal answer. He says like this: the Gemara in Erchin speaking about you consecrated the building, the property. So here he said you can't benefit from me. So we say. So the question is, what was the intent? So if he would say, I don't want you to benefit from my bathhouse, then he couldn't use the bathhouse. That's like the person consecrating the what? Mm-hmm. Consecrating the apartment or the residence. He didn't say that. He says, you cannot benefit from me. So since the person who made the netter has no financial percentage of the profits, he never had in mind that's his. You understand? It's what is included within your netter. He never intended that the bathhouse should be. If he has a percentage, he sees that's being his. So that's included in the netter. But if he has no percentage of the profits, he doesn't see it. Therefore, it was never included in the netter. That's how Tosfos differentiates between the Gemara in Erchin and the Gemara what we're talking over here. That's what the Ram brings. Okay, let's see it inside. It's the last run on the page. We'll see. Ikal Meida Gashmaitzin. Where they have the bold print in over here, the last bold print. He says the second line after that, the line under. Afilu chai gavna hechi shori. The question is, even in that context where the owner has no interest in the profits, how the homikol gufa merchad shall maskeru. The actual bathhouse belongs to the one who leases it out. Here a person rents his house out to another person, Vigdisho, and then he consecrates it. Hadorbo, the one who lives there, who does he pay rent to? Maliskar lehegdish. Yeah? He has to pay schar, he has to pay rent to the hegdish. So the Gemara asks, how does it say he's permitted to live there? And he pays rent to hegdish. He's not permitted to benefit from it. Once he consecrates it, you're not permitted to benefit from it. What do you mean he pays rent? He has to move out. So if that's the case, even though he leased it out, the man already has a lease. Nevertheless, it says if the landlord consecrates the residence, he has to move out. So therefore, if he has no financial interest, why could the person, after he made the neder, why is he permitted to remain there? It should be no different than consecrating the house. That's the question. Tirtzu betosos. I see you have it marked up already.
This is what you said to go.
Yeah. Oh, you pre-mark it. Okay. Tirtzu betosos. If he would say my bathhouse, you're not permitted to benefit from it. Makes no difference, even if he has no profits. Because there he consecrated, he made the neder directly on the bathhouse. What's our case? He says you cannot benefit from my assets. So the question is, what did he mean? What did he intend my assets? So if he sees the bathhouse leased out as not his asset,
then he can use it.
That's why he could use it, because it wasn't included in the neder. Wait. So that's what he's explaining. Dato al mashihiskir. So when he said my assets, he never intended that the asset that was leased out should be included within the neder. But as Tosa says, but of course, if he said directly, you're not permitted to use my bathhouse directly, he's not permitted. Okay? Ikasha Dolel perek ein bein amuder soka daito dein daito mashiyivkir va'atchilei equal to me, but lo domi. He says, but you could ask a question. It says earlier that a person makes a neder, okay, and according to Rabbi Yossi, originally the Havmi thought that if even a person consecrates something until a third party takes possession, it's still considered the one who declared it ownerless. Remember, Rabbi Yossi, it's like a gift. You have a right to take possession. So the Gemara over there says that if that's the case, we quoted something that says a person makes a neder, what he was already mafkir is permitted to a third party. So it says, but according to Rabbi Yossi, that it doesn't leave his domain until it's what? Until a person takes possession, it should not be permitted. That was the Gemara's question. The Gemara says no, because when a person makes a neder, he only has in mind what is his. But since he already declared it to be hefker, he never had in mind, never intended it should be hefker. But the Gemara says no, they can't be, and the Gemara dismisses it. So you see over there, we don't reckon with that concept. We say whatever is included within the words is in the words. If he says the chosai, and the chosai, my possessions, my assets, include the bathhouse, so the bathhouse should not be permitted. That's the Ran's question. But equal name with Lodom, he says no, there's no comparison in that case in this case. Why? The vadik shadam osin the chos of stam dato al kol mashu b'shuso. When a person says my assets are off limits, right? He says my assets are off limits. He means whatever he possesses. Fiho came shein a hefker adayin hefker v'lo hamator mator afim b'chlal yiser. Mashiyotzim b'shuso l'shato b'schiros. Oh, he rented it out. See, there we say it's mine until somebody takes possession. Here, factually, the one who leased it, he has an interest. He has a shibut. He has a right. It's only Hegdish revokes that. When he consecrates, it's a revocation of a right. So therefore, if something is really mine, and the words include mine, then it's included. That's the case before Behefker. Here, factually, he leased it out. So the tenant, he has intrinsic right to be there. Therefore, it's not really fully my asset. So if I consecrate your right, it will revoke it. But factually, when I said my asset, what does my asset mean? It's in my domain. It's not in my domain. It may be my asset, but it's not in my domain because I leased it out. Therefore, it's not included in the neder.
So he's the third person, so to speak.
What?
He's the third person. In other words, it doesn't affect it. Is that correct?
it doesn't affect the third,
So the renter now is the third.
or even let's say he would say to the bathhouse keeper, the one who rented it, he say, you can't benefit from my assets.
Right.
He could benefit from that bathhouse.
Because he's
No, he's the second
he's
person
the second person.
because he already leased it.
Oh, right.
He already leased,
Good,
not
good.
because he leased it. And any whatever belongs to me, my possessions. That's the Ran's answer. How he differentiates them. He cites Rabbeinu Tam. Now this Rabbeinu Tam, we'll see. Where did the question start? Because we say Yesh Mila B'Kol Nomos. That when you make a netter is like consecrating something.
Right.
So we equated our case to the case in Erchin. If you consecrate the residence, the tenant has to move out, even though he already leased it. Rabbeinu Tam Zaltir Tahi Perk Mishkolei Davka Gabi Hegdish Mishum the Hegdish Mafkim B'Dei Shibud Avocha Gabi No Konomas Avgad Mafkim B'Dei Shibud Kidis Perk Api Perk Pesach Mechilden Hani Mila B'Konim Kloli Kain Hegdish. When do we say that when you make a netter, it's the equivalent of Hegdish, that it would revoke a right? That's only it has to have the same when you consecrate something. What does that mean? It's off limits to everybody. It's not limited to one individual. So if it resembles that, then it would revoke a right. What did he say? You cannot benefit from my possessions, but other people can. So if that's the case, this is a limited nether. A limited nether doesn't have the power to be the equivalent of Hegdish. When you consecrate something which is off limits to everybody, that revokes any right anybody has in the asset. But over here, he didn't say that. He says, if he would say the whole world, nobody can benefit from my assets. That's the equivalent of Hegdish. That's called Konim Kloli. It's all-encompassing. He didn't say that. He says, Ruvain cannot benefit from my assets. So that's limited. With limitation, doesn't have the ability to revoke the right of the tenant. Al Konim Proti came to Domi LeHegdish. Since it's not similar to Hegdish, Al Mur Rabon LeShibudei, the Chachom, they intensify his right. The Yidach lo lifkale, so therefore it's not revoked. Ki hechdom hosam damur rabon l'shibudei debal chen hor Rabbeinu Tam zal. That's the way Rabbeinu Tam rules, that if a person makes the netter, even so according to Rabbeinu Tam, even if he says specifically, you cannot benefit from my bathhouse, it's what? He could use the bathhouse. According to Tosfos, he says no. He said because it was not included. But he said it, but he could be specific about the bathhouse, he couldn't use the bathhouse. According to Rabbeinu Tam says no. That since it's a limited neder does not revoke a right. It's all an all-encompassing neder, which is similar to Hegdish, to consecration. That's what revokes the right in whatever it may be. Okay? That's Rabbeinu Tam. This is a third understanding. They differentiate. Did the resident prepay the rent or he paid the rent? That's how he's differentiating. The Gemara in Erchin, where it says he has to move out, he didn't pay the rent yet. So because he didn't pay the rent, he signed the lease, he has a right. But if you pay rent, that means you've acquired an interest. That's how you differentiate here. So the Gemara in Erchin is speaking, he didn't prepay the year, prepay the rent. The Kevitlo Sagile, Shlo Yischaiva Socha, Los Yischar Lehegdish, Nipsish Yesh Lehegdish. Yeah, so who becomes the landlord? You have to pay rent to Hegdish. So if you have to pay rent to that means they have a hold on the property. If you prepay the rent, what happens? Hegdish never gets involved in your life. You're out of the picture, right? I've already paid. So when he consecrated, that means everything but my right is not consecrated. Okay? Here we're talking about he already paid for the bathhouse. The bathhouse keeper paid the year's rent. Since the landlord has no relevance to the bathhouse, therefore his netter means nothing. He says the Yerushalmi also makes this differentiation, whether it was prepaid or not prepaid. Okay. Okay, we're going to leave that over here. Let's go further.
What would happen if the end of the prepaid at the
No, then it would be a problem again.
so if I
But we're
prepaid
talking about,
for 6 months,
so during the 6 months you could use the bathhouse, after 6 months you can't use the bathhouse
then
anymore.
the debt accrues back.
Right. Okay, further. We're on Mem Zayin. Okay? The rest of the round is very important too. He brings down Rashi. Rashi over there, in this Ksubas differentiates between Hegdish Berek Habayis and Hegdish Mizbeach. When do we say revoke something? That's only, he makes such a differentiation. Yeah. Okay, let's go further. Omer lechaveiro. So the Mishnah says, if a person says, you cannot come into my house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the person goes and sells the house to a third party. So we say the person can't go to the house now because he said my house. So if it's no longer, but let's say it's this house. Once he says this, then the person can't go into the house, right? Mishnah made such a right. You cannot come into my field. So if he sells the field, he could go into the field. But if he says this field, even if he sells it off, it's still this field.
Mm-hmm.
Once the net takes effect, it remains there. Okay, good. Boy Rav Avimi, Kona Labaya Zeshaton Nichnas. He says, this house you cannot enter into this house, mess, and then the person dies. O Shemochel La'acher, Mao, and he sells to a third party, what is it?
Well, you have two different things. If he dies.
Same thing. Dying, that means there is an heir, right? If he sells it, it is a third party. So that's the Shaila. Although we had this earlier. Can I affect something now when I'm no longer in control of it? Right? When it's mine, I have rights. I have a right. I have a right to exercise my rights. But if I'm selling it off, that means what? I'm putting a limitation on the purchaser.
Right.
So if the purchaser is buying full right, I can't infringe on his rights. So if my netter can't affect, or do you say no? Since I affected it when I owned it, and I had a right to affect it from now on forever, so when I'm selling it off, what am I really selling off? I'm selling off what's left. But this man's out of the picture, because I already set in place that so-and-so cannot benefit from it. That's the Shaila. Omer Rabbi Toshma. Bring a proof from the Mishnah. Ha'omer libno konim she'iyato nenali. Umes. A person says to his son, you cannot benefit from me. And then the father dies. Right? Yushena. He inherits. Right? Because when he says you cannot benefit from me, that's when I'm alive. No.
He has the inheritance.
With the rights, it says he's permitted to benefit from the inheritance.
Right.
So what does that mean? So you see clearly, because he said only because you cannot benefit from me. So he's no longer there, so the son can benefit. What happens if the father said, B'chayevu b'moso? He says to his son, you cannot benefit from me not when I'm alive, not when I'm dead. He's like disinheriting him through a neder. It says no, he cannot. He doesn't inherit. I mean, he can't benefit from the inheritance. So what do we see there? So when he says you cannot, so he's affecting something now. Although naturally, Torah says it goes out of his domain. Who's there? The son is still there, but it says the son, although he inherits the property, he cannot benefit from the property. So what do you see from that brisa? That a person can affect something now for a time when it's no longer his, right? Because when a man dies, a dead man doesn't own anything. It's passed on to the next generation, to the heirs. No. He doesn't inherit. The son inherits. But could he benefit from those assets that he inherits? You own. What are you talking about? You own it. Monetarily, doesn't make a difference. Monetarily, you own it. I'll ask you a question. I own something. I will not benefit from my assets. Your assets are still yours. You know, if you benefit, you're in violation. But it's yours because it was yours before. So monetarily, it's mine. If somebody would damage it, he's a damager. So the Marshmami knows. So what do we have? Bring a proof from this brisa. It's conclusive proof. Because the father says, when I'm alive and when I'm dead, you cannot benefit from me. Even though the son inherits, he cannot benefit from his assets. So Mar brings a conclusive proof. Adam most of shalom shein reshuso. Dav shub shusel shasim reshuso. Shmamino. Let's see the Ran. Masnisen. Homer lechavero konim boso shen nichnas kom lema shani nichnas sod shani lokeach imek mes o mochron lacher muter. Bescho amar ashtol la beso shani huadin inos lacher nami shori. Even though the Mishnah speaks about he sold the house or he sold the field. What about if the person gifted the house to a third party? Or he would gift the field? There's no difference. Because when the son is benefiting, what is he benefiting from? From something that's not his father's. His father only put the limit because it's mine. But if it wouldn't be mine, okay, then he could, regardless how it becomes the third party's. Okay? The cave of the Bayezeh Komer, the Mishnah says, if he says, this house, cave of the Bayezeh Komer, Shavi Iluya Chatich Disura, it's the established house, this object is an object of Isser for that party. Therefore, even if he sells to a third party, you're not. Right? Now he's saying something interesting. I said, we're differentiating. If I say you cannot benefit from my house, if he sells the house or he dies, the third party. He says, this house, not. So he says, so we're differentiating between my house and this house. He says, another thing. He says, we're able to draw Hachanami Bayis Homer Mi Bayizeh Beischa Ling the field Lioma Beischa Shani Nichnas V'Nofel Banu Osir. Let's say Merit says, I will not benefit from your house. Your house. Person says, I will not benefit from your house. And then the house collapses, caves in, and they build a new house. Is he permitted to go into the new house? No. He says, your house. Whether it's this house or that, whatever is your house, I can't go into. Right? Then that is, I will not go into your house. Right? Let's say he buys 6 other residences. Every residence he buys is his house. But if he says this house, and the house caves in and he builds a new house, it's not this house, it's a new house. That he's able to go into the house. Right? You got to use your mind a little bit. So you're not supposed to use your head. Your head, you bang in the wall. Your mind, you understand. Okay? Okay. A woodpecker uses his head. Okay. If he made it this house I will not go into, v'nofal, and it caves in, afal pisha chazeh banu muter. Well, cave in the nofal asla, since the original house fell down, right? This is not the house. V'yoma beis chazeh. Oh, now he says. Now he has a new question. Our case, the Mishnah Spring says either beis cho or he said zeh. What about if he would say beis chazeh? Use both terms. This house which is yours. So he said 2 things. This house which is yours. So now let's say he moves out. So now it's no longer this. Even though he said beis cho, but the beis cho, your house is contingent on this. Okay? That's what we speak. So v'yom beis cho zeh mishum zeh atotokso bein l'chormo de mechiro bein l'chul de nefilo v'chi isa b'yushalmi beis cho zeh mishum atom tovso mishum beis cho. 1 second. Bach. Mishum Beischo, O Mishum Zen Ofal, he says, Ubana Halesli Vashminim Minado Lioshev, Tnu Bias, Base Chasus Libini, E Base Arplus Biti, the Noso, by the Novel Echaibun Noso. Ubestab came reading Beischo, Shani Nichnas, the Ofal Boni Lay, Osur Lab Afkan Ofal Boni Lay, Bumkomo, Duadin, and Bono Mokamacher, Osur. Okay, so it's very simple. He's saying something, another, a person gifts, and he says to his family, you see this wedding hall that I built? I want it to give it to your brother. It should be your brother's. And then it collapses, caves in the house, the wedding hall. Do the brothers have to take out a state, build them a new wedding hall? No. I want that wedding hall to be your brother's. So it's the same thing. He said, that's like this, that. So if it exists, you give it. What it does no longer exist, you don't have to give it. This is really Gemara speaks about. What about if you have a landlord with a tenant? Person says, I will provide a residence for you. You pay me so much per month. So regardless whether the house exists or doesn't exist, he has to provide a residence. Let's say he says, this residence I will provide for you, and you pay me so much rent per. And they sign a contract. Caves in, he doesn't have to provide another residence. And we say, mazol koram. That it caved in, it's your problem. It's not my problem. He even loses the rent that he paid. He prepaid the rent. Yeah? Yeah, because I provided the residence. It's your fault it caved in. It's not my fault. It's your hard luck. So he said, maybe it's your luck. Okay, so it's questionable. You resolve it. You prove to me whose bad luck it is, then we'll talk about giving you the money back. That's the concept of motzchev elovraya. The burden of proof is on the other person. Because how do you prove it? Right, we had this in Ksubis. Right, a man was supposed to get married in 12 months. And then she becomes ill, or he becomes ill. Who do you blame? Do you blame her or do you blame him? Does he have to start supporting her? The man says, I'm ready to get married. You're sick. He says, no, it's your mazel. The reason why she couldn't make it to the wedding if she's sick is because God's punishing you. Therefore, you have to feed her. Okay? That was the whole discussion over there. Remember where the discussion was? On that Beis. Beis Oben Aleph. First page in Ksubis. Okay. Okay. You tell me afterwards. You Google it.
No.
Okay. Boy Avimi. He's 5 hours behind us. Howard. It's a good thing he's not in China. He'd be 15 hours ahead of us. Okay. Okay. Boy Avimi. Kodem vayzeh shato nichnas meiso mafil lachem mau. Klema. Did he dami de masnisin? We asked the question, if a person says, this house should be off limits to you, and then he dies. The Gemara had a question, could a person affect something now for the future when it's no longer yours, right? So seemingly wanted to bring a proof from our Mishnah. He says, Kloma dinida min mastis no bayezeh mochro lache osur hanim il ba'osa alatzmo. So osa nafshi bayezeh ben shu shelo ben shu kurenu lache. Aber chavre nida bayezeh lo olam mashma kinemukach mastis mil lo kolhem lo loso kshios meshuso. This chaver, he's saying something phenomenal. He's saying like, our Mishnah is speaking like this. I say, I will not go into your house. I will not go into this house. But the object that I'm prohibiting is not mine. You can make a net on something that's not yours. That's our Mishnah. So we say, if he says, I will not go into this house, and he sells this house, you can go into the house. He says, I will not go in, I will not go into your house, he sells, and you can go in. He says, I will not go into this house. You can have six new buyers. He can never go into the house. That's our Mishnah has nothing to do with it. Our question is, the one who made the net was on a third party. This house should not be permitted to you, this house. And now he sells the house. So that was the question. Could I affect something now for a time when it's no longer mine? That was the discussion in the Gemara. It's from Ran. Vodin. The boile before ich bei Zesha, the nichza fil ach shiot zum shus, the efshel lo mahani giu lo bestapik belishno. Pshitale de zel ola mashon, kemuk haver, aval ikar bai afil ki boile mevad. Hochi motzi ovid came nichse hashu b'shuse ninu. Olav kevon lach she became nafkum shuse aval ki nichse haver haveru. Meister rob toshma. Okay. I'll do the finishing around myself here. Let's go further into the Gemara. Okay, so we brought a conclusive proof that I could affect something now, even for a time when it's no longer mine. Okay. Tanan Hosa, we learned in the Mishnah. Kone peris ho'elu olai. Person says, these fruits are off limits to me. Koneim hein al pi. We have this in Ksubis. These fruits are off limits. They're off limits for my mouth. Means for eating. If I want to sell it, I could sell it. But eating, I'm not. Koneim hein lefi. Also be chulfein ubigidulein. Yeah? He says, these fruits are not permitted to me. Konim alpi, konim hein. Lefi, also be chulfein b'gudulein. Now, let's say you take these fruits now and exchange them for something else. I said, these apples are not permitted to me. He takes the apples and exchanges them for oranges. So the oranges you have is an exchange of the apples. It says in the Mishnah, you cannot benefit from the oranges. Because, no, because it's an exchange. Because I'm benefiting. Why do I have oranges? Because the apples were given for the oranges. So that means I'm benefiting from the apples when I have the oranges. You come home today. Howard's wife's going to ask him, so what do you discuss today? Apples and oranges. Okay? What about giduleim? Let's say you take the apple seed and you plant it, and now you have a new apple tree growing out. Since the apples are an outgrowth of the seed of the original apple you're permitted from, you're not permitted to benefit from the gidule and from the growth. That's the Mishnah. Boy Rab Chama, Omar Koni Perusa Elu Al Ploni. What about a person says these fruits are not permitted to someone else? We say if you say I will not have the fruits, it says explicitly. Not only are they not permitted, the exchange is not permitted, anything that grows from is not permitted. What about if he says these fruits are off limits, my fruit are off limits to you? Now the question is, what is included in that neder? Does it mean any derivative of that? Even the exchange? Or it means, no, those fruits mean specifically those fruits. But if those fruits should be exchanged, that may be, meaning they were exchanged, apples and oranges. If you say you will not, I will not benefit from the apples, and the Mishnah says if the apples are exchanged for oranges, you can't eat the oranges. Because the oranges are a direct consequence of exchanging the apples. So when you have the orange, you're benefiting from the apples. But what about the person says to someone else, you cannot benefit from my apples. From my apples. And now the person goes, the owner exchanges from oranges. Could he benefit from his oranges? You got it? It's not the same. We'll see. It's not. There's a difference if I said I will not benefit. If I say I will not benefit from my apples, so if I have oranges, the oranges are a benefit of the apples. Because how did I get the oranges? I had to give them away the apples. When I say to somebody, you will not benefit from my apples, so that means you will not benefit from the apples. Now I go and I need one to get oranges. So based on the barter system, I exchange the apples for oranges. Now that I have oranges, and I say, you're welcome to take my oranges. You're benefiting the orange. I'm not benefiting the apples. It's irrelevant how you purchased it, right? It's irrelevant. If I say I will not benefit personally, and then I exchange apples for oranges. When I eat those oranges, did I benefit from the apples? I benefited from the apples because if I wouldn't have exchanged it, I wouldn't have oranges. But here, when I said to you, you cannot benefit from my apples, and now I want oranges, and I go exchange apples for oranges, and I say I say no. Now, are you permitted to eat my oranges? Are you eating my apples? You're not benefiting my apples. You're benefiting my oranges. So it should be mutter, maybe. Mao b'chilufeim. Mi amin gabi dilehu hov odem osa peris chavero chalat atzmo. Osa dover shloboli olam al atzmo. Just as a person could prohibit somebody else's assets on himself. Right? I could say your assets are off limits to me. So similarly, even what doesn't exist, I could affect. You got it? Doesn't exist. So the oranges are in exchange for that. So I could affect the oranges, which are not my oranges. Because I don't have the oranges yet. How does my neder affect the oranges? I didn't own the oranges. So what did I say? I said that anything which is a consequence of the oranges, so that means, but I could affect that. Like I could affect, even though I don't own those oranges yet, but it's just as I could prohibit your thing on myself, so I could prohibit those oranges, which I don't own yet, also on myself. Okay? Okay? However, regarding your friend, I can't prohibit. But let's say you have apples. I say, your apples are not permitted to you. It means nothing. You can only affect what you own. I can't affect something what somebody else owns. So just as you can't say your apples are not permitted to you, so therefore I can't say the oranges also, because that's vis-a-vis a third party. If that's the case, if the apples are exchanged for oranges, he can't affect it. That's one side of the question. Oh, Dilma, or do we say no? That's considered a direct benefit. It's not davar shelo olam. I said you cannot benefit from my apples. And therefore, if I got oranges because of the apples, that's a direct derivative. Instead, that's called benefiting from the apples. That's called benefit. It's not the oranges are a separate entity. Benefiting from the oranges is benefiting from the apples. Phenomenal. He's saying, do I see it as when I'm saying I make the neder on the apples, I said, and anything which is a consequence of apples, which means orange, strawberries, whatever it may be? Or do I say no? So that's the case, I can't. Or do I say no? Anything which is in exchange for that, that's called benefiting from the original thing that I actually said you couldn't benefit from.
Right, so that's good.
That's the two sides of the question. Gewaldig. Toshma. We're going to resolve it. El ishto. Man says to his wife, Koneim shani nenaloch. Yeah. He says, Koneim, you cannot benefit from me. You will not benefit from me. Okay. Lech. What's the girsa here? 1 second. No. It's a question of the girsa here. Yeah. Koni mashani nenel. Yeah. Omelishto. Koni mashani nenel lech. Love. Yeah. He borrows. Ubalichoven bon in Freuen. Then the creditors, they have a right to collect from him. Lovo says she can't benefit from him. You hear the story? He says to himself, you cannot benefit from me. But he has an obligation to support her. Okay, but he made the netter. Okay? So you know what she does? She goes and borrows money from a third party, and now the creditors go to the husband, they collect the debt. Correct? So what do we see from there? It says, Lova, she borrows, Ubalichov, and the lenders, her lenders, they go and collect from the husband. My time, Balichov and Nifroim. What's the reason why the creditors collect from the husband? Even though, factually, she's benefiting, why do they have a right to collect from the husband? Because she borrowed. But why is the husband obligated? Because to pay the debt, because he's obligated to support her. So what do we see? Her borrowing initially is indirectly benefiting from the husband. Because if they know that the husband's not going to pay, can't pay, they're not lending her. They're only lending her because the husband becomes the debtor. So my benefit from the money is actually benefiting from the husband. That's what the Gemara wants to say now. Okay, so we have to discuss how the netter takes effect. That's a separate discussion. He made a netter, you could have benefit from me. And now, but it says, so what does she do? She borrows, and then the creditors collect from the husband, he's the debtor. But actually, if we say that it's something that's a derivative of something, means I'm benefiting, because why was I able to borrow? Because my husband was going to pay. So therefore, and indirectly, I'm benefiting from my husband, because they wouldn't have lent me if my husband wouldn't pay. Right? If they know my husband's not paying, they're not lending me. It's only because the husband's obligated, that's why they lend. So what do we see? But if it's chilufayim, if one's considered an outgrowth of the other, she should not be permitted to borrow. Omar Rava, no. Maybe factually, she's not permitted. You hear this? She's not permitted to borrow. The Ovid, you know what I mean? If she borrowed, then they lent her. Now, you know something? Now they have a right to claim. She already benefited. She did the wrong thing. When the wife borrowed the money, she did the wrong. She didn't go to the rabbi, ask a question. She went and borrowed, they lent her. And they understood they lent her because they're going back to the husband. So the husband, of course, is held accountable. Was she permitted to do it? She wasn't permitted to do it. Okay. So there's no proof. Ela Toshma. Hamagdish ba'orlo. Hamakadish ba'orlo. Orlo is one of the yields of the first 3 years of a fruit tree. It's Yisrael no. If one marries a woman to Orlo, Ein B'Kodeshes. He gave her something of no value. Correct? Ein B'Kodeshes. Mochram v'Kiddush b'Dmeyan. What about he takes the Orlo, he sells it to a goy. Sells it to a goy. Goy's permitted an Orlo. And he takes the money, the proceeds of that sale, and he marries a woman with it. No, he's not permitted. He did the wrong thing. But, you know, the guy couldn't care less. The guy couldn't care less. So the guy paid him his 5 cents for the pound of apples, okay? And he takes the nickel and he says, Harei Mukadeshesli, with the 5 cents. So it says in the Mishnah in Kedushin, she's Mukadeshes. When he benefits from that, taking that money, he's benefiting. but you're not permitted the benefit. So if that's the money itself should have no value. You're giving us something that has no value because you're benefiting from Arlo. So we see, although it's a derivative, it's not a problem. We see what one is in exchange for another. We don't see that object as benefiting from the source. Okay, that's what he's saying. But if he sells it and he takes the proceeds of the sale and he's Makarish, Harizum Kadeshes, low, the over, truthfully, wasn't permitted to do it. But factually, if he did, since he gave us something of value, right, she's Mukadeshes. So we didn't resolve it. This question wasn't resolved. Okay, we have a few minutes. Let's do it around. Okay? You're going to have to review it on Shabbos. No, because we didn't have a proof. We didn't prove. We didn't prove what it is. No, not whether you can or can't. We see clearly when you benefit from the derivative, it's what is valid. But the question is, what you did, was it right or wrong? That was the question.
So the second step, the first step was wrong.
Definitely, right. All the way in the boy, Rabbi Barabba. Koni pers elu aploni mal b'chilufeir. A man says, these fruits are off limits to you. Now, and then the person goes, I said, you cannot benefit from my apples. And I go and exchange oranges for apples. Could so-and-so benefit from my oranges? That was the question that originally was presented in the Gemara, right? So he goes to explain what is both sides of the question. He says, this shaila is not limited to neder konomus. If this is true, anything which is isurei ano, and you have an exchange, what is the status of the exchange? So it's not limited only to neder. If I go and have something and I exchange something else, even I did the wrong thing, the exchange, am I permitted to benefit from the exchange? Okay? He says, therefore, what do we cite the Mishnah? There's not a point, are you permitted? Of course you're not permitted to sell orla. Right? You're not permitted. You're not permitted to sell it, you're not permitted to barter it. Hear this? It says that if a person goes and sells, this is not so simple. He says, if you're permitted, Howard, if you're permitted, I just want to make sure if you're permitted to sell Isurei Hano, and used, and it's permitted l'chatchila, you have orlo. Maybe you can't benefit directly from the orlo, but you're permitted to sell it. So if that's the case, if somebody steals orlo from you, he should be considered a thief, right? But he's in sight. The halachas, if somebody steals orlo, he owes you nothing. But if you're telling me that I have a right to sell it, and the proof is because the proceeds are permitted to me, so that means I have a right? No, you have no right. So you have no intrinsic monetary rights in it. So if somebody damages it, destroys it, steals it, he owes you nothing. No liability. Our exchange, you go and sell it to a goy. So good. The guy, he couldn't care less or not, or he's paying for it. Now you have the money, right? It says in the Mishnah, you can benefit if you marry a woman with it, she's married. It's understood you're not permitted to sell orlo. 100%. He went and did the wrong thing. He took the orlo and he went and exchanged it. He borrowed it. Misafkale. Ulachanami. Lomi boile de pshita de mutorin. She'ein loch tofes is domov el bavoris kochovim ushvius. Yeah. Ulachar nami lomi boile. Once you've done the exchange, the money is permitted. When do we say that it transfers? If you have idolatry and you purchase something with something idolatrous, the money assumes the identical status as the idolatry. Shvius. Most shvius, you have sabbatical produce, which has kedusha. You purchase something with it, the kedusha remains on the shvius, but it also transfers onto the money. It's based on psukim. Those are the exceptions. But in any other situation, The money does not assume the status of the surroundings. If you sell orla, you did the wrong thing. Sell orla to a goy. The money is permitted money. You weren't permitted, but now that you have the money's permitted. Pshitla de mutar and shein locha tovis dame elboros kochom shvius and na meislo bereish chulin. Chemtzit shel of kochovim achra pesach muter miyad. Memnei shei machlifin. El mesafkle yimitri lamachlif midrabanon. Yeah. The question is, on the Torah level, you're permitted to benefit from the exchange. But, rabbinically, if a person goes and sells oil, now you have money. You don't think you deserve to be penalized. A third party, lechatchiluk, used the money. But we're talking about the one who did the wrong thing. Rabbinically, we penalize him. You did something, there's a concept in Gemara, it's called choti maskir. You mean you're going to be a beneficiary of your sin? You weren't permitted to sell it because it's eternal. You went and sold it. You think we're going to let you benefit from your misbehavior? But let's say a third party would have the money now. Why should we penalize him? He never did anything wrong, right? The one who transgressed, he did the wrong thing, you will penalize rabbinically. But third party not. So that's what Ron says. He says, we're talking about if we're penalizing the one who was not permitted to benefit from it. Okay? The one who exchanged the question, do we penalize him? Don't we penalize him? That's the shaila. Olo. That's the essence of our question. Do we say it's not permitted because when he made the netter, he meant not only the object, but anything which is a derivative of the object? That was the intent of the netter, right? So who dafka no there oser atzmo v'kach di chuvim gedav shel bolo olam damu gabi dei motzi oser aval gabi chavri motzi oser o dilma ki hey ki it's not mastis not chuvim la vastate. We'll stop here today.